I'm Jennifer Idle.
And I'm Alex Rose. We both have a soft spot for national parks. As image makers and storytellers, the protected waters that make up our nation's rich natural heritage are a constant source of inspiration for us. From the scalding waters of geysers heated by an active volcano to the glaciers that shaped the landscape, Yellowstone National Park is defined by water.
As the world's first national park, Yellowstone has inspired the creation of protected lands across the globe. We're taking you with us on a journey from iconic thermal features to rarely seen ecosystems beneath the waters of Yellowstone Lake. We'll be met with challenges along the way as we capture footage we hope inspires people everywhere to love our parks. Let's begin the long road to Yellowstone National Park, the most complex ecosystem in the lower 48 states.
Hello, we're off, guys.
This is gonna be awesome. Get there at 8:33, so
Which means midnight.
You know, it would be nice to roll it before midnight.
We're incapable. I don't understand though, like,
Over mule deer.
yeah. Hey guys.
All right, so we're in Yellowstone.
Visitors tend to associate iconic bison, elk, and grizzly bears with Yellowstone, but the park is home to an abundant variety of wildlife, including 67 species of mammals, 300 kinds of birds, and 16 types of fish. From the largest of these down to prairie dogs and even to microscopic bacteria, Yellowstone demands the wonder it conjures. Up to millions of thermophilic species inhabit the extreme environments in Yellowstone's waters. Extremophiles are microorganisms that thrive in the aggressive conditions of geothermally heated geysers and springs. Though microscopic, colonies of these organisms are visible through the colors they form in and around the geothermal features.
3 supervolcanoes have erupted in the course of Yellowstone's history. The first eruption is one of the largest ones known to have ever occurred on Earth. Yellowstone Lake was created during the last eruption and remains at the center of the caldera. It's here where we take a deeper look.
Yellowstone Lake is the largest high-elevation lake in all of North America. At over 7,000 feet, this requires special consideration for planning dives to explore its underwater features. It freezes up to 3 feet thick each year in late December or early January and thaws by early June when we set out to dive.
Bridge Bay is home to mysterious siliceous spires that were created 11,000 years ago when silica aggregated on bacterial filaments. There are stunning features that rise up to 25 feet from the sandy bottom of the lake. Bacterial mats surround the spires and life flourishes on them.
What are we doing? That was awesome.
The technical demands of enduring frigid water at altitude requires numerous dives, provided the weather and our equipment agree with us. We need both calm water and sunlight to find the spires in this immense lake. When we couldn't dive, we kept productive with other activities and took advantage of the downtime. It's way better in solo.
It's amazing. Dude, I really wish I'd had the energy to do this one. I was just wrecked.
You were totally wrecked. But we're gonna do it tomorrow. And I don't care if it's the same spire or not, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just want good spire
It'll be,
action.
yeah. It'll be good.
Once we were caught up, we took a weather day to meet with Michelle Briggs, an expert who's conducting research in the lake to learn more about the life below.
I'm Michelle Briggs, and I'm a graduate student at Montana State University. I'm currently working on getting my master's degree here at Yellowstone Lake, and I'm studying benthic invertebrates in the lake and how efforts to suppress the invasive lake trout here in the lake affect invertebrate populations, and how lake trout are altering the food web here in Yellowstone Lake. We have several species of fish here in Yellowstone Lake. There's the native Yellowstone cutthroat trout, the invasive lake trout, and we also have long-nosed sucker, long-nosed dace, and lake chub here in Yellowstone Lake. Invasive lake trout are particularly problematic because they prey on the native Yellowstone cutthroat trout, and since their introduction, populations of the Yellowstone cutthroat trout have dramatically decreased. And Yellowstone cutthroat trout are a really important food source to many kinds of species in the Yellowstone Lake ecosystem, including bears and otters and ospreys. And when lake trout consume the Yellowstone cutthroat trout are no longer available as a food source to all of these different animals that eat them in the Yellowstone Lake area. The main part of the lake trout suppression program right now is gill netting. So there are multiple boats on Yellowstone Lake every day removing invasive lake trout from the lake. And this program removes between 200,000 to about 300,000 lake trout from Yellowstone Lake each year. And so far we are starting to see some success with the gill netting program. Lake trout catches are starting to go back down, and cutthroat trout seem to be making a comeback.
We thanked Michelle for her time and continued our exploration underwater to take a new look at the ecosystem. After our conversation, we also had a better understanding of the amphipods and sponges that surround the spires. Diving these spires is otherworldly when we approach them in low visibility. Our compasses lose navigation when we're close, and we feel them before we see them. It's an achievement to find each spire. When we finished diving, we explored the park and admired its natural wonders.
Yellowstone is an addictive wilderness that draws famously epic crowds. Unprecedented numbers of people have been visiting since 1992, with more than 4 million visitors recorded in 2016. Nearly 64% of Yellowstone's annual guests visit in June, July, and August, which means these 3 months endure roadblocks, crowds, and stress to both visitors and wildlife. It's important to consider the influences people have on an ecosystem, so we may continue to enjoy the wildlife, clean air, and water it supports. Some of these impacts, such as how we conduct our transportation and energy needs, are less evident, while others, like the oil pipeline leaks in Yellowstone River, are obvious and significant mistakes.
Yellowstone's waters have received the highest levels of protection for surface waters under the Clean Water Act, which helps keep the park's water pristine and minimally affected by human activities.
Our love for these parks drives us to tell their stories and show why it's important to support our national parks. We protect and set aside these natural resources for the future enjoyment of all people, not immediate depletion for the benefit of the few. Our individual choices have collective impact that can positively or negatively affect the park. How we choose to love and enjoy these parks has lasting influence on the life these ecosystems support above and below the waterline.